Welcome to www.theinternet.com. We're going to look at some of the best choices for your first car. We're going to get you sorted out. Okay. And number one, we have an old Honda Civic. The styling on these is timeless. They came out at a time when people just loved square things, boxes, cardboard, toasters, anything square people were in love with, and so they made this car to honor those times. If you get this, you have to slam it. Promise me that at least. Put that on some coilovers and drive it around like that. Number 9 is the Acker Integra. Now, recently, one of these bad boys sold for $112,000, which is quite a lot of money for a freaking old car. But it is worth it. It's basically a Honda Civic, but a bit older and a bit cooler. Okay, number 8 on this list is any Honda or Acura that you can afford and that you think looks cool and that's not a piece, okay? So when you go to check it out, don't get something that's already modified. Just buy it from an old lady or something like that. A cheap Honda is the perfect first car. It'll let you save up for something actually cool. Now let's move it on. Maybe you want something that looks cool and that's sportier than a Civic. Well, the 7th gen Celica is gonna be more fun, okay? This car has the same engine as the 3rd gen Toyota MR2. Shout out Toyota MR2. And it weighed like 2,500 pounds, which is pretty light. If you're a racer, this car comes pre-riced. It's perfect. Just kidding, they actually look kind of cool. But the next car's good too. Okay, the next car is the Mitsubishi Eclipse. Honestly, they're very similar. Like, if you looked at one day and then the next day, you probably wouldn't be able to remember which one's which. They're just very, like, sportily kind of designed car coupes from that time. This one was heavier, 3,000 pounds, but you could get a V6. It's only as powerful as the 2ZZ 4-cylinder, but it's still a V6, so it'll sound cooler, I guess, than a 4-cylinder. But yeah, honestly, like... Also, by the way, these have all been JDM cars, but if you want to see some awesome, underrated JDM cars, then look at this video. Because this video has some awesome, underrated JDM cars, and some of them are pretty cheap. You like cheap stuff, right? That's why you're watching this video. Okay, but let's flick it right along to the next car on this list. And that is the Volvo 240. Now there's a bit of a drift tax on them now. But they made so many of them, you can still find them for 3 G's. And this is not a fast car, okay? It's a bit heavy. It's a bit underpowered. But the tuning is unlimited. This is one of those cars you could buy today and you could keep for the rest of your life. Freaking LS swap it in 10 years. Electric swap it in 20 years. Whatever you want, you can do with this car, alright? And they look cool as shit. You could slam this, and it would be the coolest car in the freaking parking lot. So, buy this car. Listen to me when I say this. Buy this freaking car, man. But if you want something a bit more, how do I say this, faster, well, let's look at an alternative. Now, the next car on this list is the BMW 3 Series. Now, I say 3 Series because you could get an E46 or an E36, and I really wouldn't mind. The E36 is getting harder to find because they're so cool. They're like the Volvo, okay? They have timeless looks. They're always going to look good, and you can do their rear-wheel drive. You can do basically any build you want with them. And the E46 is a bit newer. It's also a bit less reliable. So take your pick, but they're easier to find than the E36. Either way, here's the important part. Get a freaking 6-cylinder. If you're buying a BMW, you get a straight 6. That's half the reason you buy it for. Okay, so don't buy a 4-cylinder BMW. If you're going to buy a 4-cylinder, buy the Honda, buy the Volvo. Don't buy a 4-cylinder BMW. Alright, and let's move it on to my dream car. This is the car that when I turn 100, if I haven't owned this car, I will kill myself. Okay, because this is a beautiful car. And that is the Mustang V6 automatic convertible. This is the most beautiful car that I can conceive of. Okay, and you should buy one, all right? Well, maybe not the V6 automatic convertible because you're going to buy them all up and then I won't be able to find one. But this Mustang, either the SN95 or the New Edge, this is just an all-around good sports car, honestly. Like, rear-wheel drive, it's like the BMW, but if you're all about that America, maybe you just want to get compliments from boomers, and you will, all right? You go to the gas station, you get a boomer going up, hey, I like your car, sonny. If that really toots your tootle, then this is the perfect car for getting that tootle all tooted, all right? So consider that when you're making your decision, bucko. Now, what if you want a Mustang, but you want 4 doors, huh? You want 4 doors so you can take around your more... Well, worry no more, because an even cheaper option to the Mustang is the Crown Victoria. You can get the Police Interceptor trim, which some of them had an LSD, I might add, for like $2,000. And you could daily it. Like, they're decently well maintained. $2,000. I'm serious. You could get one of these. And this would be an awesome car. Except for the fuel mileage, because gas, it's kind of getting expensive. But yeah, if you don't mind a little bit of gas money being freaking tossed your way when you give people rides, this is an awesome car. And you could just do so much tomfoolery in it. Pretend to be a police officer, which is definitely legal, by the way. If you get one of these cars, put some cop lights in, put a freaking loudspeaker. It is 100% A-okay to pull people over without being a police officer. You will not get into any trouble. So do it and send me a video when you do, because it'll be hilarious. All right. Their expression when you pull up to the window. They go, hey man, I pulled you over because I'm f***ing bored. And they're like, oh. And the last car, maybe even the best car, is a 1.8T. And okay, I know that's not a car. It's an engine. It's a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, and it was made by VAG, alright? And this engine you could get in the freaking Jetta, the Golf, the Audi A4, probably another car I can't even think of, alright? But if you get that engine in any of those cars, that's a safe bet. These are said to be very tunable. By the way, if you want to tune your first car, when you get a car without a turbo, tuning is very hard unless it's suspension, all right, or handling or something like that. You don't really tune an engine to make more power without spending thousands of dollars, okay? But if you already have a turbo on your car, tuning is so easy, dude. You freaking mess with the goddamn... You take a screwdriver and you freaking stick it in there, and all of a sudden you get 20 more horsepower, right? Or whatever, how much more horsepower you want. So these engines are said to be very reliable. You can make a good amount of power. And yeah, now if you're thinking about buying your first car, but you're not sure whether you should go with the boring side or the interesting side, then watch this video, because I actually have a video about my journey trying to decide what I should buy. And I ended up with a Miata as my second first car. But it was not through trial, and it was not through without tribulation. All right, there was much tribulation on the journey to afford my car. So go watch that video if you want to learn about it.